In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Oh, you magnificent bastard, I read your book. I drink your milkshake.
How dare you?
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch! Of course you realize this means war.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Welcome. Good morning, good day, good evening. It is Thursday night. It's March 25th. The year of our Lord, 2021. And you're in the saloon. Thanks for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, always spelled with a K, a mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Bill Mill, the belly of the beast, the Capitol building at downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets, where, at the end of the show, when I exit the plush, resplendent, sumptuous, and palatial SHR Media studios, I'll be smelling the odoriferous stench of sulfur, brimstone, and evil emanating from downtown Sacramento. And be forewarned, what you're about to hear tonight for the next 2 hours consists of my opinion and no one else's. I also have to tell you this. The saloon is serving stiff drinks, facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, context, tradition, intent, and common sense out of the front and the back doors, depending on the fear porn quotient in California, always spelled with the K. Remember, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. It's 2021, and I am done with bipartisanship and compromise. Oh, a reminder. This show was just featured as number 18 in the top 75 late-night talk show podcasts you must follow in 2021. Seth Meyers came in number 1. Little old BZ, your fuzzy dude, your fuzzy ancient dude, came in at number 18 out of the top 75 late-night talk show podcasts you have to follow. Well, I am a conservatarian, and it is late night. No one disputes that whatsoever. I have in the first hour a great individual, as I've said for any number of years now, I meet some of the most intriguing people on the internet. Oh, where's my manners? Where's my manners? Apparently not in this pocket right here. Welcome to Sergeant Booker in SHR Media Chat, Simone in SHR Media Chat, Jack Alexander in Chat the Alaskan, and 2 viewers who will not be unmasked because unlike the U.S. government, we don't unmask people here in the Saloon. So welcome to all of you here. As I've said before, any number of years, I meet some of the most intriguing people right on the internet. I find out about them and I think, hey, I think they might make a good guest right here on the show. Well, sometimes I not only scour the internet, but I listen to other shows too. So this is from having done that, my next guest stems, who I'd heard on March 11th on the Unleashed Jeremy Hansen show, which, of course, I recommend highly to everyone. Jeremy and I, by the way, as most people know who listen to the show, we're really good friends. So I hope he's not going to mind my literal thieving of one of his great guests. But her organization and her story is one that everybody, I think, should know about, particularly in light of the fact that I'm evidently getting a lot more listeners than I ever suspected in my ranking. So with that, and little further ado, because I'm all about ado except for tonight, I'd like to introduce and welcome Jan Rogers of Dream Makers for Life to the show. So welcome, Jan. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Greetings from South Florida. South
Florida. And we got together about 20 minutes ago, and I said, I'm going to do a couple of things. First things first is I'm going to thank you for being here so darn late. So it's 8:07 right here on the far left coast, which means it's 11:07 way on the far east coast. So number one, thank you for being here tonight.
You are most welcome.
Way late. So, Jan, before we start, and the reason I had you listen to make sure that you can hear this, I want to get everybody, give everyone sort of a, I guess for lack of a better word, sort of an overall gist of your website and your organization and what you do. This is from Jan Rogers' website, Dream Makers for Life.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Kennedy?
When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer. When I grow up, I want to be an architect.
Hello, my name is Jan Rogers, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dream Makers for Life. The 2 children that you have just seen are 2 of the many children and their families being reached at children's hospitals by Dream Makers for Life. Our goal is to help these children develop a vision for the future beyond the illness and the treatments to combat their conditions. We accomplish this by providing a dream pack, which consists of a clear backpack, coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to provide a creative way for the child to choose what they would like to be, where they would like to go, and what they would like to do. The children who overcome their illnesses now have learned the basics of how to plan for their future and have a dream to pursue. For the others, they leave a legacy and memory of never having given up on their dream. The dream packs are provided at no cost to the children's hospitals or their patients. If this mission to bring hope to critically ill children and their families touches your hearts, please support Dream Makers for Life at www.dreamforlife.org. Thank you.
So that's dreammakersforlife.org. And before we really get into things, Jan Rogers, you said earlier that it's okay if people call into the show with comments or questions. So just confirming that's okay with you if folks want to ask you a question or talk about your project?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We'd love it. Yeah.
And people may decide that instead of calling in, they're just going to comment in chat. So if you guys are in the chat room right now, you're either in the shrmedia.com chat room, and welcome to all the people that are in there, or you're in the Facebook chat room where you're watching us streaming on SHR Media, or you're in the YouTube Live chat room. at SHR Media. And if you have any questions, let me just throw the phone line open, too. There we go. If you want to ask a question on chat, be my guest as we get into this. Or if you want to call, the number is 575-208-4481. 575-208-4481. And again, if you don't feel like calling and you're in a chat room, just ask a question. I'll make sure that Jan gets this. Now, Jan Rogers, when I listened to you 2 weeks ago on Jeremy's show, one of the first things I thought was, this sounds like a really good idea, Dream Makers for Life, but it kind of sounds like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, except it isn't. So, Jan Rogers, let's start at the start. What is the Dream Makers for Life organization? What do you guys do?
Well, let me just respond to that. Well, first of all, let me tell you that I'm surprised that you played that soundbite. You almost brought me to tears because it's been a while since we've done that, and it just reinforces and sounds so good to let your listeners know that's really a snapshot of who we are.
Right.
Our mission is to inspire critically ill children to envision a future abundant in hope. And what that means is that we're connecting with children in the hospitals by providing them with dream packs. That's a tool that gives them an opportunity to have this experience where some organizations want to make a wish come true, but you have to start, or a dream come true, but you have to start with creating a dream. And that's what we do. And the dream packs that we provide, we created them to last for the life of the child. So let me just start off by saying that this is not a snapshot in a child's life, because a traumatic diagnosis is normally not a snapshot in a child's life. So can I start off by telling you how we got started?
Well, of course, I was going to ask you that anyway, but you got it. How did you guys get started?
Well, I think it would kind of give the listeners a vision as to why we do what we do.
Okay.
So since it's kind of late night here, let me start with Once Upon a Time, because This is kind of like a Once Upon a Time story. Okay. So Once Upon a Time, there was a mother-daughter duo, Jan and her youngest daughter, Lauren, who was home visiting on college break. And we went to visit a friend of ours, at a local children's hospital here in South Florida. Joe DiMaggio is a very large children's hospital. And he had a certain type of bone marrow cancer, and he was really doing well with the treatment. And we went to visit him. But while we were there, he had a new roommate that had just arrived a couple of days before. And so the patient that we were visiting, he was actually leaving. And on the way out the room, I asked him, I said, could you please introduce us to your roommate? And he did. It was a 11-year-old little boy who had just come in and had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And we took some time to talk with him, and he was very, very sick. And his parents were also going through a divorce, and his grandmother was there. So as we were leaving the hospital, my daughter said to me, she said, Mom, I'm going back to school. We can do something, for kids like this. We've got time on our hands. What can we do? So on the highway home, we're, conversing, trying to think of something that we could do to make a difference. And we couldn't come up with anything. We were thinking you want to make a wristband, you want to make them a picture. What do you want to do? And as we're coming off the expressway, my daughter turned to me and said, you know what, Mom, these children have no dreams. Because she knew what it was like to go through a family that was going through a divorce, but she couldn't imagine having a traumatic sickness on top of that. It would just really quench all of the child's dreams. So when she said, Mom, these children have no dreams, I said, then we need to be dream makers. And that's how Dream Makers for Life got started.
That's absolutely perfect. We found out just now how you came up with the idea. Was that, I don't know, what was that, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago? How long have you guys been in operation?
We've actually been distributing Dream Packs to children's hospitals this is our 11th year.
Okay.
But let me share with you that once we determined what the name of the organization was going to be, they were like, okay, what do we do? What does that look like? And so it took us 10 years to put together the Dream Packs, which the soundbite at the beginning of the program stated, these are a clear backpack. We created 2 books that go inside these backpacks. One is a dry erase board adventure coloring book that gives the child an opportunity to envision where do they want to go, what do they want to do, what do they want to be, right from their hospital bed. We are teaching these children how to daydream in the midst of their trauma. Our goal is for the children who survive their trauma, they will be ready to pursue their dreams. For the children that do not, they leave the legacy of joy in pursuing their dreams. So we took 10 years to write the little stories, to do the illustrations, to come up with the plan. Also, we did a journal for parents to teach them how to teach their children how to daydream, because daydreaming is a lost art.
Oh.
Now we have everything accessible to us, and we don't daydream on our own.
So Jan Rogers, folks, I'm talking to Jan Rogers of Dream Makers for Life. You can find her website at dreamforlife.org. Dreamforlife.org. So it sounds as though you looked at some kids, you thought, folks like them, kids like those, they seem to be underserved. It took you a while to get your things, to get the steam going, so to speak.
Yeah.
What were some of the first steps that you guys took in order to get Dream Makers for Life going? It took you a while to get to the bags. So what were some of the things or the thoughts that you had before you actually came up with the idea and went, I know, this is what we're going to do?
We did not go to the hospital, children's hospitals, and ask them if this was a good idea. We took the 10 years in kind of solitude, I would say, to put everything together. We didn't want any outside influences. We had this mindset and this concept that we thought would work. And then what we did is just before we finished the project, because it was going to take funds and publication and production to put everything together. And we didn't want to do it without knowing that it was going to have an impact. So there's another local children's hospital. It's about an hour south of here in Miami called Jackson Memorial Holtz Children's Hospital. And I went down there and said, look, we have a program that we think could make a big difference for your ICU children and their families, because this is a family project.
Right.
This is not just for the child. This impacts the entire family, siblings, grandparents, everybody. And I have a couple of stories I'd like to share with you about that. But we went to Jackson Memorial Children's Hospital, and they said the only way we'll meet with you is if you share it with all of our department heads that will be impacted. So that's hematology, oncology, dialysis. We're not geared toward one particular illness. We're geared toward any child who's suffering from a critical or terminal illness. And so when we went to the hospital and sat down with them, I shared with them our draft of the Dream Pack and what it was going to look like, not knowing. I had absolutely no clue what they were going to say. And about halfway through my presentation, the director said, "Stop talking." And she went around the room and said, "What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?" And every single department head said to me, "Jan, we have been waiting for a program like this because it's not just geared toward the child." And there's nothing wrong with a program geared specifically for a child, because there's a lot of great organizations and charities out there. We just want to be considered one of them. And our program includes the entire family. And that's what they wanted. And they said, "Jan, whatever it takes, we would love for you to finish what you started. And we want to be the first recipient." And the next day, I contacted the director and I said, "That was kind of an emotional meeting. Did you maybe reconsider? Are you sure this is what you want?" And she said, "Jan, I need to let you know something. This department that you're connected to is not just in this children's hospital. It's in every major children's hospital around the world. And we love what you're doing, and we really want you to see it through." So it took us another 3 years to raise the monies necessary to meet the needs of the hospitals, all 9 hospitals down here in South Florida.
Folks, I'm talking to Jan Rogers of Dream Makers for Life. You can find them at dreamforlife.org. Jan, I don't know if anybody's told you this, but what you just said to me, you guys went out and sort of from the get-go, you treated it like a business. You went out to put your toe in the waters and see is our proof of concept valid? Will it work? Mm-hmm. And then you guys came up with essentially what is a business plan to do this thing, because as you indicated, you didn't want to just go out and do something that wouldn't be of any significance. So just by what you told me, that tells me that you and Lauren are really sharp individuals who found a need, confirmed the need was there, and then struck out and did it. I think that's amazing.
Thank you very much. Well, we're very passionate about it. I think that one of the reasons that we've been so successful is that this is not just a desire to make a difference. We're passionate about making a difference. And I hope that comes across in sharing these stories, because, well, one thing I didn't tell you is that I learned firsthand as being a caregiver to my father, who was a stroke victim, that people get uncomfortable when they're around sick people. They don't know how to respond. And when we deliver these dream packs, sometimes we get to go and hand deliver them. That's very rare. We normally ship them to the children's hospitals due to the HIPAA Act. Mm-hmm. But when I walk into a hospital room, if I'm delivering a dream pack, I can actually go into the room and say, "I created this just for you." Because everyone's dreams are different, like our fingerprint. They're completely different. So a child's imagination is absolutely limitless. And we're grateful to have the opportunity, because these dream packs are like a tsunami of hope that comes into a very dark place. What do you say? People don't even know what to say to a child that's sick. What do you say? "How are you feeling today?" They're feeling terrible. They want to be home playing with their siblings or their pets or eating their favorite food. But when you come in and this child has a dream pack, you can say, what are you dreaming about today? What kind of adventure, can we go on? My favorite adventure to tell these kids is, let's imagine that and this is not fantasy stuff. We're talking about things that you can actually do. Let's go for a hot air balloon ride. Go to my favorite, park, and let's go have a picnic somewhere. I have a couple of stories that I'd like to share. Do you want to share them now or later?
Let me confirm a couple of things first. You're not necessarily dealing just with with terminally ill children, you're dealing with critically ill children who may then subsequently recover. So you're all across the spectrum on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what go ahead.
But keep in mind that these are the children that have been given a diagnosis where we're not sure if they're going to survive or not. Their hope it's very limited. We've been invited to distribute these to other children, but our passion is for these children and their families that are going through a really difficult struggle, and we don't know if they're going to survive or not. But it's true, critical or terminal. The department that I mentioned before is child life. Every children's hospital has a child life department, and I didn't know that until I asked the Jackson Memorial Children's Hospital. I said, okay, we're getting ready to go out and raise the funds for this program, and they can't just take my word for it that it's going to make an impact. I need a letter from you that it's going to make an impact. Would you be willing to write us a letter foreseeing the impact that it's going to have on your patients before they even get it? And the director wrote the most beautiful letter. And when I got it, I cried. I was like, oh my gosh, she foresees this, amazing result from these kids having these dream packs. So then I thought, well, let me go to another children's hospital, because I never heard of Child Life before, local children's hospital, and presented the program to them and said, what do you think? And they loved it. And I said, would you be willing to write us a letter? And she wrote a letter almost, better than the first letter that we got. And so I just kept going to children's hospitals saying, what do you think? What do you think? And the response was unanimous. Everybody was telling me the exact same thing. So I'm letting you and your listeners know that we could be throughout the U.S. in a very short period of time, touching as many critically and terminally ill children as possible if we had, the means to do it.
Folks, I'm talking to Jan Rogers. She's the CEO and co-creator. I'm guessing co-creator, because you're going to give your daughter Lauren some credit for that too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Couldn't have done it without her.
Okay. She's in Florida, 3-hour difference, staying up late just to listen to us tonight, just to tell everybody here what's going on with Dream Makers for Life. DreamMakersForLife.org. I got about 2 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. You went in, saw a need, decided that you were going to fulfill it. As you're speaking to all these people, they're all confirming to you, you're on the right path. You're doing the right thing. You're giving hope to children who otherwise may not have had something. And when you mentioned the thing with regard to, and I'm guessing you've probably seen this with the adults, with the parents too. If confronted with a terminally ill child, that's me.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I wouldn't know how to respond. I don't have any idea what that child would need. I would be nonplussed. It'd be, how do I begin to even communicate to a child in a situation like that? And I think that's an absolutely incredible thing where you guys take that ball and run with it.
And there's no limit. It's been such a joy. It makes our hearts happy. And a happy heart is a healthy heart.
It's funny you should mention that. That's one of the other questions that I have coming along. We're going to take a break now. Folks, I'm BZ. You're in the Saloon. We're talking to Jan Rogers tonight of Dream Makers for Life. And we'll be back, and she'll be back with her story. There's much more, right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please, join us 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Thursday, on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, the most explosive pro-American podcast on the planet. Pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, pro-conservative. Come join the resistance. Fight for what really matters in America. 5 p.m. Central on UJHLive.com, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or MAGAbook.com. Come join the resistance and fight for America. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen.
Do you value yourself, your family, your friends? Want to know more about how to survive, thrive, and stay alive in these dynamic times? Listen to Around the Campfire with Kate, Thursday nights and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central, only on PSN TV. That's Around the Campfire with Kate. News that nobody in the MSM wants to report. Remember, train hard, train smart to survive, thrive, and stay alive.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladles and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for being here tonight in the Saloon. The entire first hour is with Jan Rogers. She is CEO and co-creator of Dream Makers for Life, giving hope to little kids, children, all over the place who have either terminally ill or extremely critical diseases. And again, Jan, thank you ever so kindly for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
It makes my heart happy to be here. Thank you so much.
You mentioned that you put together the packs for the children, and that's an idea that now you've woven together and you've assembled them, and this is your idea. This is what you're going to go forward with. So how does somebody get in touch with you? How is it that you end up responding with a dream pack? Do you physically go into, and I think you said you don't necessarily do this, but do people write to you, send you emails? How do they contact you if they want to get a pack from Dream Makers for Life?
That's a very good question. We have a particular protocol for distributing the dream pack. And that is, as I mentioned earlier, we connected with the child life departments at the children's hospitals. These departments deal strictly with the overall health of the child. They help them learn how they get their shots, how they get their medications, playtime, what to expect from surgery, how to deal with all the different aspects of the hospital. So we connect with the child life departments at the hospitals. Now, we're currently in 13 children's hospitals here in South Florida, Central Florida, Alabama, and North Carolina. I'm sorry.
I think you said your dream packs were for kids, or I heard on on Jeremy Hansen's show when you were talking there, you said your packs were for kids 2 to 13.
Primarily 2 to 13. They can be used for older children if the older children are interested. We've had a young adult who was a heart transplant patient that really surprised me and overheard what I was telling a younger child. And she said, "Can I have a dream pack?" And I said, "Well, you may think that these dream packs are for young children, and they are." I said, "But you have dreams inside you too. What do you think you want to do?" And so she used the journal that teaches you how to daydream and really wanted to focus on that. So there's really no limit. However, since COVID, we've developed a program which has been on our heart. It just kind of got accelerated a little bit for teenagers and young adults. Also, it's not a dream pack, but it allows us to inspire teenagers and young adults as to maybe what they want to be when they grow up. And so we provide a program where they can listen to professionals share their dream of becoming who they are, so that a child can say, well, I might be interested in being that profession. What did it take, and how do you go through the good, the bad, and the ugly to get there? Because having a dream is not all about, the fun of it. It's all about the work of it and the persistence and pursuit of that dream for the older children. But for the younger, we just want to find out what makes their hearts happy. And that's where the stories come in. You'll understand a little bit better when I share that.
You said that each pack is individually customized, and you're about to tell us the protocol. What is the protocol if somebody wants to get in touch with you, or how does it generally work right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't finish my thought there. If they know of a child that's in a specific children's hospital, let us know, and we'll contact their child life director and ship the dream pack to them.
Okay.
If the child is not in a hospital but is terminally ill or critically ill, they can contact me at jan@dreamforlife.org.
Okay.
And let us know, and we'll make arrangements to get a dream pack to that child. Because we just want to touch as many critically ill children as possible. But these dream packs are not for sale.
Okay.
So we provide these to the hospitals at no cost to them or to their patients. We look to the community for donations to support their local children's hospital.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Folks, if you just tuned in, we're talking tonight to Jan Rogers, who is the CEO and co-creator of Dream Makers for Life, where they are restoring dreams to critically ill children. My understanding is that these packs cost about $40 each, and
That's
everyone
correct.
is encouraged to donate. I'm guessing as little or as much as you wish. If you are inclined to do so, folks, dreamsforlife.org. Dreamsforlife.org. And also in the chat room, I put up your email for folks who are on SHR Media chat room, jan@dreamforlife.org. Very simple, jan@dreamforlife.org. It's a wonderful thing. I have to add this. Jeremy Hansen offered you some professional help for your organization with producers and film people. Well, I can't let Jeremy Hansen up me, okay, Jeremy, if you're listening. So, okay, I don't have contacts with film producers, but I can offer you this. Jan, I can offer you a fully produced 30 to 60-second radio commercial for Dream Makers for Life, ready to be sent, completely produced, with music background to be sent to any station or anywhere you choose, any venue you like, in order to support you guys. So, Jeremy, take that.
That's outstanding. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. Oh, I really appreciate that. That would be wonderful.
And you can
Thank
use
you.
it to, play anytime, anywhere, and I will send it to you by way of email. Now, Jan Rogers.
I'm going to take you up on that offer. I am definitely going to take you up on that offer.
Give me about 5 days, and I'll have it ready for you. Maybe 5 or 6 days. I will have it ready for you. Now, you said, Jan Rogers, you said you have some great stories. Let's hear some of your stories.
Okay, I do. We're so grateful to be able to do this. We don't take it lightly. Every child is unique. Every family is unique, and they're all going through a really difficult time. And to be able to bring some joy and hope into their lives was really outstanding when we first got to see the impact of what these dream packs are going to do. So without further ado, let's put on your seatbelt because we had an opportunity. We got called from different hospitals to let us know we have a patient here, we have a patient there. Would you please come deliver, a dream pack at like 9:30 at night because the child is only going to be here for a short period of time. We'll be leaving in the morning, for their to receive their chemo. So it wasn't like I could go in the middle of the day. And the first little girl that I met in such an encounter like that, I wasn't planning on meeting the family. I was just thinking I'm going to the hospital, drop off the dream pack, and let them, make the presentation. But when I got there, the child life specialist met me, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I was just going to meet with a security guard. And she said, I want you to meet the family. And I said, okay. So she said, look, this little girl, she has leukemia, and her parents are going through a divorce. When these children get sick, it's very hard on the families. It's not uncommon. And so when I got up to her room, her mom was there, and this little girl just had a couple of hairs sticking out of the top of her head. She's about 8 years old, and her name is Sundance. And I went in, and I did exactly what I told you that I do. I walked up to her. She was in bed, and I said, I made this dream pack for you. And I sat down with her and showed her how it worked. And she was so elated. So I let her play with the dream pack in bed, and I went and sat next to her mom and told her about the journal. Look, this is an opportunity where you can actually act like a child and get away with it, helping your child, teaching her how to daydream. And the mom said, I don't use my imagination or teach my daughter to use her imagination. And I don't read with inflections because we have some bold, like if you could go anywhere in the world, absolutely anywhere, where would you go? Who would you take with you? That's a great idea. That kind of thing. So kind of like telling a story out loud. And all of a sudden, the nurse came in and gave Sundance her cherry-flavored chemo. And when the nurse left, I'm still talking to her mom, and Sundance puts her finger up to her lips, and she goes, I want everybody to be quiet. And I thought she was having a reaction to the medication, and she didn't want to hear anybody talking. And so I turned to her, and I said, are you okay? And she did that again. She goes, shh. She puts her hands up, and she goes, everybody be quiet. She goes, I'm daydreaming. And my heart broke.
Wow.
Because I knew that she had not learned that from her mom, that she had applied just those few minutes I had shared with her about going on an adventure and doing anything that makes your heart happy right from here. And that was a wonderful encounter. And I called the next day to find out how she was doing. And they said she put her backpack on her IV pole and was going up and down the hallways telling everybody about her dreams. Okay? All right, so that was Sundance. Well, I got a call from Children's Hospital saying, we want you to come out. We're going to invite the media to come out. CBS, NBC, and we have a Spanish station here called Ola TV. And we're going to distribute the dream packs for the first time, and we'd like you to be here for the interview. And I said, okay, that would be great. So when I got there, there was a little boy who was too sick to come into the playroom to get his dream pack. But they brought him into the playroom, hospital bed and all. And those hospital beds are huge. I mean, they can hardly fit through the door. So you see this huge hospital bed coming through the door, and there's this little boy, and he's 8 years old also. And he was only there for about 60 seconds, but the news caught him receiving me presenting the dream pack to him, And then he had to be immediately escorted back to his room because he got so sick. And after the media had left and all the other children had received their dream packs, his grandmother came to me and said, would you please come down and give Robbie his own dream pack? I said, absolutely. So I went down to his room, and his dad was there, his mom was there, and his grandmother was there. And so I did the same thing I did with Sundance. I sat on his bed and opened up the dream pack and started showing him how it worked, and so that they can color and erase 24/7 as to what makes their hearts happy. That's what the dream pack allows the child to do. And so I happened to turn to one of our chapters. I think, what do you want to do? And I said, is there any illustration here that would make your heart happy? And he goes, yes, I want to do this. And he pointed to an illustration of our character fishing. And I said, why do you want to go fishing? And he says, because my dad and I go fishing around the world. Now, he's 8 years old.
Wow.
I haven't been around the world.
Me neither.
I'm a lot older than that. But immediately, his dad gets out his iPhone, and he's flipping through pictures showing me Robbie holding a fish as tall as him. I'd never seen anything like that, really, a fish as tall as him. And so I turned to Robbie, and I said, Robbie, you could go fishing right from this bed, because that's what made his heart happy. And so he turns to his dad, and he says, Dad, I want to color. And his dad turns back to him and says, son, you're too sick to color. Now, you might think that that is kind of mean, but you have to take into consideration that parents understand the consequences of the illness. The child does not. But to my surprise, as soon as his dad says, son, you're too sick to color, Robbie turned back to him and said, then will you color for me?
Perfect.
Somebody in this room is going to make my heart happy. And going fishing was the topic of the day. Do you know that it impacted his mom, his dad, and his grandmother immediately? Because, see, here's the kick. They all knew that Robbie loved to go fishing, but he didn't have a tool where he could use his imagination to do it. It was at that point that I saw the tsunami of hope come in to that dark room. Because when I went into that room, everybody was like, his dad was propped up against the wall, the mom was sitting in her chair, and the grandmother was on the other side of the room, and nobody was talking. Nobody was talking, because he was, when he had gone back into his room, he was all hooked up with oxygen and all the wires and everything. So it was a very solemn environment. Well, when I left that room, I immediately left that room. I said, okay, you guys go off on your journey. You're good to go. And I came out, and a nurse came up to me and said, we have a little girl on the other side of the hospital who could really use a dream pack right now. And I said, okay. So I went on the other side of the hospital and met this beautiful red-haired little girl whose name is Ocean. And she was 6 years old at the time. And I did the same thing, sat down, shared with her how the dream pack works. And I said, what would make your heart happy right this minute? And she said, I want to go to school. And I said, okay, let's use our imagination. We can go to school. And she goes, Mom, I want to color. And I promise you, her mom could not have heard what Robbie's dad said. And she said the exact same thing. And that's what I really want to get across to these listeners, is that these parents are so traumatized by, being at the hospital 24/7. Yeah. They're tired, they're overwhelmed, underappreciated because they just, they can't make their child better. And she said the exact same thing. She said, sweetheart, you're too sick to color. And this little girl said, oh, no, Mom, I can do this. She powered up the back of her hospital bed. She put a pillow in her lap. She propped up our book because it has a spiral binding on it, so it opens up flat. she laid those dry erase markers in front of her, and she said, "See, Mom, I can do this." These kids are fearless. Don't tell them they can't do something if it's going to make their hearts happy right from that hospital bed. It was like a ray of sunshine. It was such a joy. I cannot begin to tell you. Such a joy.
Folks, we're talking to Jan Rogers of Dream Makers for Life. And I heard you speak on Jeremy Hansen, which is where I got the idea to ask you on the show here. But apparently I wasn't listening as much as I need to. And I think you hit on something that may be the key. And I don't know if anybody's mentioned it to you officially yet or not. And maybe you already know this. What I mean is this: adults see things differently than kids. Our education, our experiences cause adults to take in a lot more factors. We see more. We worry more. We think of so many ways that things can go wrong or be damaged. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that makes you and your daughter Lauren different and more special is that you're seeing things through their eyes as well. Yeah. That, I think, is the most critical point. You've managed to make that connection with kids because you're seeing what they see. You're not seeing what the adults see. And morose, you want to see what they're seeing. And that's where you make the connection. Or am I just way out of line?
No, you're right. You're right on target. These children have so much to offer. I'll tell you what. If you ask a child and say, okay, today's all about you. You can do anything you want to do. Most children are going to say, you're going to say, what do you want to do today? They're going to say, I don't know. Because there's so many options.
Right.
So if you say you want to go to the park today, no. You want to go to the pool today? No. So you do know what you want to do. We just have to figure it out. And so let me ask you a question. Did you know that the average children's hospital admits approximately 10 critically ill children a month?
No. We happen to have a Shriners Hospital here in Sacramento, but that isn't anything that I really know much about at all. That's kind of an amazing statistic, and no, I was not aware of that.
That's about 120 critically ill. That's the average children's hospital. Now, the Shriners may be more specialized, like St. Jude's, and so their intake may be higher, but the average children's hospital admits 10 to 15, actually. I chose the lower number, but 10 to 15 critically ill children a month. That's approximately 120 children per year. I think that's 120 children too many.
Well, and take that number then and multiply it times however many children's hospitals are in that state, and then multiply that number by all 50 states.
Right.
Then what kind of a staggering number do you have?
Well, that would be $4,800 per hospital. So I don't know the exact number of how many children are in this nation, but we would love for every children's hospital to receive Dream Packs. And let me tell you how that came to us is that this program that we have for teenagers and young adults that's available to them free. When we tell the children, so we're in 42 children's hospitals nationwide with the teenagers and young adults program in 28 states. And they're constantly calling us and saying, we hear that you have, these are called Dream Team stories. And they say, we've heard that you have Dream Packs. We would like for you to send us Dream Packs. and I have to tell them, until we can raise enough money to provide to your children's hospital, we're going to have to put you on a wait list, because the number of children's hospitals that we're already supplying to, we have to raise funds for them. Our thought behind that is that we'd rather be an inch wide and a mile deep than a mile wide and an inch deep. So we don't want to overextend ourselves, is what I'm saying. We don't want to promise a children's hospital that we can provide them with enough dream packs, for a year, if we don't have the financial support to be able to do that. And that's why this program is so important, because it's helping us get the word out.
Folks, we're talking to Jan Rogers, who's the CEO and co-creator of Dream Makers for Life. Jan, what do you think, if you've learned anything from what you've encountered in the past 10 or 11 years, what do you think is one of the most important things that you've learned from creating Dream Makers for Life?
Well, that's a really good question. Nothing is impossible.
Okay.
Nothing is impossible. We didn't know when we started. Well, actually, when we started, we thought we would have to go one hospital at a time to see if they would be interested in the program. We didn't know that something that we were so passionate about. And like you said earlier, we just saw a need. We're just, fulfilling a need that we saw. One of the things I didn't mention early on, which might help your viewers understand the passion part, is that before Lauren and I went to the children's hospital and met the little boy, I had always wanted to be a nurse when I grew up. And I did not pursue that career because I didn't really have the chemistry background for it. And so I went into the legal field instead. But I went down to Miami and spent a summer in my 30s and volunteered as a candy striper. And I did that because I wanted to give back to the community. And to my surprise, I had never seen children so ill. I never really had that kind of exposure. I knew I wanted to help, but I just didn't know how. So they said, Jan, where do you want to volunteer? And I said, I want to volunteer in the department that nobody wants to volunteer in. And they said, well, we really don't have any volunteers in ICU. Would you be willing to do that? Because right now it's just a medical staff. And I said, yeah, I would really like to do that, not knowing what that was really going to entail. And I came across children who had been shipped to the hospital because that's where they could get the best care, leaving their families at home. So the medical teams and the volunteers really became like their families. And I came across, and so I was helping them play games and watch TV and, keeping them company. But I came across one little girl who had two different types of terminal illnesses. And she was 12 years old. Her name was Nicole. And the hospital would let me bring her favorite food, which was mashed potatoes. I went to a specialty restaurant, a high-end restaurant, to get wonderful mashed potatoes and would take them with me to the hospital. Back in the day, you could do that. Mm-hmm. And every now and then, Nicole would go visit her family, and they would take her to Disney World. And then she'd come back to the hospital, go through her treatments, and then go back home to be with family. And so I got to know her really, really well and really enjoyed her company and really felt like I was making a difference. And one time she went off to Disney World, and she did not come back. She got sick while she was at Disney World, and on the way home, she passed away. That rocked my world. That rocked my world because I thought, I'm leaving behind children that need some hope. And I really think that that's what really sowed a seed of passion in my heart. And I just never, even though it was many, many years later, because at that point I was still taking care, I was a caregiver to my dad. I mentioned he had a stroke. It wasn't until just before my father passed away that Lauren and I had that encounter. It was some 15 years later. But I never lost hope that I was going to do something to make a difference. So I think that when you asked me that question, was the one thing I've learned over all these years is that nothing is impossible when you're really passionate about it and you just want to see it through.
That's kind of a soul-ripping experience, but I've been there myself. I worked for a number of years for law enforcement. One of the places I worked was the Child Abuse Bureau. So I've seen a lot of things, a lot of situations where you absolutely, absolutely have to have hope. You must have hope. You can't lose hope, especially with kids. Jan Rogers, tell people, if you would again, please, if they want to donate or if they want to contact you. How do I get a bag? What do I do? How can people contact you? And how can people donate to Dream Makers for Life?
We really appreciate your giving us an opportunity to do this. They can go to our website at Dream for Life. That's DREAM, singular, FOR, life, LIFE.org. They can make a donation there. There's also an address there. We're at Dream Makers for Life is at P.O. Box 4862, Margate, 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 Florida 33093. Make their check payable to Dream Makers for Life, or they can give online. They can email me directly at jan@dreamforlife.org. And what am I missing here? Any other information?
I don't. I think you've about covered it. One thing that I do want to emphasize is I'm going to make good on my promise to you within about 5 or 6 days.
Thank you.
And you can look for that in your email. And the other thing is you have an open invitation to come back here anytime you wish. If there's something that's occurred that's newsworthy or you want to spread the news about something, give me a blast. You know how to get in touch with me. And I want to have you back on the show. Frankly, because if for no other reason than I didn't get to, I tell people this all the time, but it's true. I didn't get to but a wait a minute. Okay, let's not go away. Have you got another couple of minutes, Jan Rogers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
The reason I ask that is because I've got a caller coming in. Caller, are you there? And do you have a question for Jan?
Yes, I do. Hi, Jan. I think what you're doing is remarkable. Now, my question for you is in your program, do you train or teach, since you're not doing it all, people to give out the dream packs and show the kids how to use them?
That's a really good question. So it depends. I'm sorry, I didn't get your first name.
This is Boyd.
Boyd? Okay. Thank you, Boyd, for your question. So there have been occasions, it depends on the children's hospital, but I have taken small groups, specialty groups, civic groups that want to go in, and I want to give them the entire experience of what they're getting ready to do. So I'll give you an example. I took a men's prayer group that wanted to deliver dream packs and they wanted to see firsthand the impact that the dream packs were having to see if they wanted to support the organization, which is legit. And so I brought all the products to them, all the components to the dream pack. We walked through the dream pack like I do with the kids. so they would know exactly what it entails. And then they would assemble it, and then we'd go to the children's hospital, and I let them go in, not me. I let them go in. You're responsible for delivering this dream pack to Bobby or to Susie or Mary or Mike. And I'll tell you what, Boyd, these men, when I got to the children's hospital, before we went inside, they said, we don't think we can do this. This is going to be too hard. And I said, no, because we had driven an hour to get there. And I said, no, we're not back. We're not going.
No.
I said, no. But like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, is that when you go in, you're holding up this beautiful blue, brightly colored, dream pack, and you're saying, I made this just for you, because on the front of the dream pack it says, My Book of Dreams. So for every child that receives a dream pack, that represents that child's dream, nobody else. And we also, on occasion, take the local fire department with us. That's a kick, because when these big firemen come in with their, suspenders and their boots and their hats on, and I do the exact same thing with them. When was the last time you had a one-on-one encounter with a fireman, which is they're like superheroes, right?
Right.
So Boyd, if you have a children's hospital near you, just send me the invite, and I'll come and we'll go deliver some dream packs if your local children's hospital will allow it.
I think that's a wonderful thing.
Okay, yeah, and I do know how hard and difficult it is, because I've played Santa Claus for 20 years and went in and delivered some toys, and I have gone into some that I knew weren't going to make it, and we do this in July with motorcycles, Christmas in July.
That's wonderful.
And it's really tough when you go in to see a kid that is not going to make it till Christmas.
But you know what? What, Boyd? You're creating a great memory.
I've had to take extra time to wipe tears away. Just to go. In fact, I can remember one where I had to go sit down and just let it all hang out for a while before I could go visit another kid.
Jen, you make an excellent point.
It's tough.
You make an excellent point in terms of Boyd. It's for the child, it's for the memories, but the parents are going to remember this too.
Absolutely. I do have one more story that I think might be helpful to share.
Please.
Would that be okay?
Please.
Okay. All right. We're talking about the children.
I'm gonna go away.
Okay, thanks, Boyd,
for
the
call.
call.
Your call. Thank you.
Thank you.
The parents sometimes are left behind, and before I started delivering dream packs to the children's hospital, I really wanted to have a one-on-one encounter of a child at home, so that I could see, because keep in mind that due to the HIPAA Act, I'm limited. I just can't go into a hospital and say, hey, can you put me in touch with a child? And so somebody knew of a child, 12 years old, who was going through non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, God.
And she was in remission. And so the family invited me to come to the home. So it was a mom, a dad, and a brother, and this little girl. And I sat at the table with the whole family, and we went through the dream pack. And I asked her what would make her heart happy right now. If we could do anything, let's practice. That's what I say. Let's practice using your imagination, so I know that I'm leaving you in good hands. And she said, I would love to go to the circus because I've never seen an elephant. And it totally caught her family by surprise, because they had been attending to her care for a long time, and that had never come up in conversation. And so I said, we can imagine that right now. And it taught the family that daydreaming and making your heart happy was a really good regiment, right? That was in September of a particular year, and the following February, she passed away. The family, of course, was devastated.
Right.
But up until, her mom told me later, up until the day that she passed away, they daydreamed every single day. And so I lost contact with the family, and I was getting ready to do a 5K event. And if anybody has any great ideas about doing a virtual 5K, please contact me. I would really appreciate it. But at that time, I was doing a 5K event, and I invited the mom I found her and invited her to come. And I had not heard anything from her since her daughter had died, so I really didn't know what she was going to say other than the impact that the Dream Pack had on her daughter before she passed away. Much to my surprise, that when the mother got up to share her story, she shared about the impact that the Dream Pack had on her daughter. However, after her daughter died, she said she became very, very sad, almost to the point where she wanted to die and go to heaven to be with her daughter, which is not uncommon. But then it dawned on her that she wanted to do something to continue with her daughter's legacy. And Mom said, I decided to pursue my dreams in remembrance of her daughter. And so she went back to school, got her master's degree, and her husband and her started traveling to different countries around the world. And it was just another aspect of the concept of pursuing your dreams that went far beyond the child, but was also having an impact on the parents that have lost a child, because they leave the legacy of pursuing their dreams, and now the parents are doing it as well in memory of their children. We had no idea that was going to happen.
Jan Rogers, the amazing thing about that is that you know many, but you will never know all of the people whose gifts you've bestowed.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. And you don't get that feedback, but my suggestion is it's infinitely more than you could ever realize. This is kind of strange. I've got another caller on the line. Do you have time to take one more call?
Yes, sir.
Okay, caller, are you there? And you're speaking to Jan Rogers here in the Saloon. Go ahead.
Hi, Jan. BZ, this is Sergeant Booker.
Hey, how do you do, sir?
Good. Jan, my first name is Roger. And I wanted to tell you that, number one, the work you're doing is as good a medicine for the souls and the faith of these families and these kids, more than you'll believe, more than you'll know. My dad was he never met a kid that he couldn't tease, couldn't pick on. He drove the church bus every Sunday morning to make sure they got to church. And it just, the work you're doing is just incredible, just unbelievable. And it's amazing. And I'm just, my allergies are flaring up right now, if you get my meaning.
Your allergies?
Yeah, Sergeant Booker, go take some Benadryl right now.
Yeah. I worked in the same business with BZ, and when something affects a kid, excuse me, it affects everybody. It really does. And what you can do to ease that pain and ease that suffering is huge.
Well, Roger, thank you very much for that. Roger, thank you very much. God bless you too. We are so grateful. We are so grateful for touching people that will never know.
Well, my dad passed away in 2013, and I just want you to know that my donation tonight is on his behalf because of his love of kids.
Oh.
And I just want to challenge everybody out there that's listening. Just one. Just donate one of these packs.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Roger, thank you so much. You have
God
just
bless you.
infused me. Thank you. Well, listen, let me share with you that if you know of a civic group or a church or a corporation who would like to sponsor a child or a hospital that's near you, or a hospital that's where we are, it doesn't really matter. We would love to have your support, because these are families that you don't get to see at the store, or that don't get to go to school.
I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus, and I'm going to bring this up before my Knights Council and see what they can do.
Perfect. Beautiful.
That would be awesome.
Because kids are their kind of their forte. Their big thing is donating wheelchairs to kids who need them. But I will bring it up to them. And again, before I go, I just want to say thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Roger. God bless you too. Right. We really appreciate it.
All right, BZ, I'll chat with you later.
All righty, thank you, sir.
Bye.
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 That's amazing. Donate some cash, folks, if you can, if you have the ability. Doesn't have to be $10. Doesn't have to be $1,000. You got a spare 20 or a spare 10 floating around. Dreamforlife.org. Dreamforlife.org. I'll wrap up with this question. Jan Rogers of Dreammakers, what next? What's on your radar? What might be some of your plans in the future?
Do you have another hour? No.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Wow. Okay, I see. Apparently, I opened a door.
I'll make it brief.
Okay.
I'll make it brief.
Okay.
Well, first of all, our goal is to go with the Dream Packs is to go throughout the U.S. and overseas. We've already been invited to 63 cities and 12 countries.
Wow.
So we would love, but the 63 cities are small in comparison to the number of children's hospitals. But that's because we went to a Child Life conference, and all of the children's hospitals there invited us to come. So that's why I say 63 cities. But those 63 cities are attached. Each one has approximately 7 hospitals that they're attached to. So do the math.
Yeah. But see, that brings up... how do I say
Wait a
this?
second. I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
So you asked me, I'm trying to tell you about my big dreams here.
Okay.
So then the dream team stories, we're working on 53 different professions. So from A to Z. So I actually have attorney to zookeeper. I do have a zookeeper.
Okay.
But we're trying to fill in the gaps. And so we're having those, since those are available at no cost to the hospitals either or their patients, and are more easily accessible because it's not a dream pack. It's a concept. We're having those translated into different languages. We also have the dream pack translated into different languages. Believe it or not, we have the dream packs are translated into Hebrew. Our goal is to go to Israel. We've been invited to go to Israel. We've spoken to the Children's Hospital in Petah Tikva, Israel, which is about 20 minutes outside of Tel Aviv. I haven't been there. I'm hoping someday I'm going to get a chance to go. But they have 14 countries that take children, critically ill children, in. So there's a huge need there. We've had it translated it's in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Hebrew. And the story of how it got translated into Hebrew and why we even did that is a whole other story. But I just want you to think big with me that if every children's hospital they can't be a children's hospital without a child life department, then just use your imagination as to how many families that could impact. Not only the child and their parents, but their siblings also. We had a little girl who had a different little girl who had two different critical illnesses, and her older brother refused to talk because he didn't need to, because all the talking was done for the little girl. All the attention was for the little girl. So he was kind of left out. So he just withdrew from society, so to speak. And so making children's hearts happy really is, we want it to be contagious, Not only that, but let me just leave you with this thought. Imagine this. You're talking to a Robbie who wants to be a fisherman when he grows up. So instead of that medical team saying, go down to room 4B, where that child has stage 4 cancer or stage 4 something, why don't you go down to room 4B where that little boy wants to be a a fisherman when he grows up? Or maybe tomorrow he wants to be a fireman. They can, their imagination is limitless, so they can change their imagination every day. It's constantly moving. But this is the thing. You know what the difference between a canal and a river is? A canal is stale and stinky. It's not going anywhere. But a river is living and it's moving. And that's what we want them to do with their hope, that it's like a river. It's constantly moving in the direction that someday they will fulfill their dreams, or they'll leave the legacy of joy in fulfilling their dreams.
Jan Rogers, you clearly have identified the way you've conducted yourself, the way you've identified the problem, the way you've addressed the problem, the way that you're moving the organization forward. I find it absolutely, it's breathtaking and it's spectacular, and I'm not frequently left wordless when I speak to various guests. But if you ever had any hesitation whatsoever on being on certain persons' shows or being on TV or something like that, I have to tell you this up front. You're probably one of the finest spokespersons, one of the most extemporaneous, contemporary spokespersons that I've ever had on the show. You could teach a class in that to people that are doing this professionally. And I want to let you know clearly it's a passion for you. It's a wonderful thing to see. It's inspiring. You're inspiring. The whole program is inspiring. And like I said, I'm looking at it right now. I have 6 more pages of questions that I could go over with right now that I didn't get a chance to. So you are always invited back.
Thank you.
The demand is incredible. I don't know how you meet it, but you're doing it with passion, with verve, with experience. Again, I'm speechless with the great, great work that you're doing.
Well, can you do me a favor?
Please. You bet.
When you and your listeners, let me perhaps inspire you that when you lay your head down on your pillow tonight, that you will have sweet dreams. And if you have anything that you want to share with us, or creative ideas, concepts, or strategies that you feel could help us reach more children quicker, we would love to hear from you.
Okay, I had about 3 that I was going to give to you tonight, but I'll send them to you in an email because I know what your email is.
Well, everybody should know what my email is, too.
That's right. So, folks, by the way, would it shock you, Jan Rogers of Dream Makers for Life, would it shock you to know that an hour and a half has gone by already?
No way. You told me that was.
I told you. See, I try to talk to guests before they get on so that I can do a sound check and all that kind of thing. And I told Jan, I said, what's going to happen is this. Number one, you're going to have a good time. Number two, what's also going to happen is at the very end, you're going to go, damn, where'd that time go? It seems like it's only 2 minutes. You've been here for an hour and a half, Jan Rogers.
But you made it so easy to do that. And I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. It was a joy. I haven't done very many of these, so this is. I'm telling you, wonderful to hear.
You found your avocation. You found your occupation. You're one of the luckiest people in life who gets to do what they love to do and has a passion for it. So many people don't. So many people zombie through life. You've found it. You've identified it. You're living it right now. And for that, my hat is off to you, ma'am.
You know what, people, I'm not a solo act. You know, it's that when we started and we said, you know, we need to be dream makers, there were so many times that it was hard to do. And I thought, how can I encourage a critically ill child to pursue their dreams if I don't pursue my own? And what's happened is that people, the only thing they dream about is going on vacation. They don't really have any dreams. If we went around the room, well, this would be a pretty big room considering your audience. But if we went around the room and said, "What are you dreaming about?" and what are you pursuing? Because there were some times that we ran with putting the program together, and other times we actually crawled. But I didn't want to be a canal. I didn't want to be not moving. I wanted to be like a river. I wanted to move. Sometimes you move slow and sometimes you move quicker. But it's reaching that goal. And we want to create an environment where these children that are critically ill, they have something to look forward to.
Yep.
Whether they're going to be able to do it or not. People say, you're giving them false hope. What are you talking about? I would rather, I don't think I could be in a position where I couldn't give child hope. I'd want to give them hope if they had 30 months, 30 minutes, or 30 seconds. What? There's no such thing as false hope. There's always room for hope. We every day we get up hopeful for something. And these children that are in these rooms, not knowing what tomorrow holds, they deserve that, and their families deserve that as well. We really had no idea the impact, how impactful it was going to be. We knew it was going to have some impact, but not to the degree that it actually has, and all the people around them that it impacts as well. And like I said, we're grateful. We just want to be good stewards of what we've been given to do, and we appreciate this opportunity for those that are listening as well.
Well, it's huge. It's massive. You've made an incredible impact. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a brief script that I want you to personally approve before I go ahead and produce this thing. And I want to get your blessings behind it. Once you do that, then I'll go ahead and create it. And I'll make sure I'm giving you a promise. I will play it every time on my show. When my show is on Tuesday and Thursday nights, I'm going to play it during my show from now until whenever. So I just want to let you know.
Wow.
So it will be played.
What a nice surprise.
During the breaks here. And I get a pretty good audience now these days. And you're going to be heard. Folks, you need to get in touch with Jan. Her website again. Donate $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, $100, whatever you're comfortable with. Dreamforlife.org. Dreamforlife.org. Thanks for the folks that called in. Jan Rogers, you're absolutely amazing. Thanks for being here so late. And by the way, if you haven't looked at your watch on the East Coast, it's now 12:30 a.m. where you are.
Thank you for that reminder. It was worth it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Jan, thank you, and we will be in touch. I will be sending you emails.
I look forward to it. Thank you again.
Thank you. Folks, that was Jan Rogers, Dream Makers for Life. That was an hour and a half. Boom, gone. Just like that. And we'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right, we're back. So please, join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we are back. That's the nice thing about having a show. That's the nice thing about working live, being late at night, and being semper gumby, always flexible. Because I have 2 hours to devote to whoever I want. And I'm not constrained by time or people that are telling me and chirping in my ear, move on, move on, move on. I have to tell you, that's one thing that just pisses me off about, most major news stations or people that will interview folks that are really important and have a great message, is you can tell when the producer is in Tucker Carlson's ear telling him, move on, move on, move on. Well, screw that. I don't have to move on. It's my damn show. And if I want to devote an entire 2 hours to whomever, I get to do it because I think you really get to hear and understand your guests. And one of the first things that I had to realize and understand for me personally is, because this pissed me off, it still pisses me off, about people who interview guests on any number of shows. Don't you get to the point where you're almost either screaming at your radio or screaming at your TV, would you just shut up and let the guest answer the damn question? Shut up! And that was one of the toughest things for me to learn when I started doing this again. I did radio in the 70s, is your guest is here for a reason. It's not about you. It's about them. And I still have trouble. I'll be the first to hold up my hand and say, guilty. I think I've been a little bit better, but I still have to learn Beezy's axiom for the guest is there to talk to you. It's their speech that you want to hear, or you wouldn't have contacted them. So learn to take a big cup of shut the hell up. And by the way, since it is late night, it's a late night show, you would expect...
Alleviating Zeppelin's HeyJackass.com Chicago Death Toll Update. Courtesy of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
And that's right. Chicago values. Hey, Jackass, go to heyjackass.com, illustrating Chicago values. So, in Chicago, courtesy of Mayor Lori Lightfoot, March to date, shot and killed 36, shot and wounded 202, total shot 238, total homicides 37. Week in progress, March 21st to March 27th, shot and killed 13, shot and wounded 37, total shot 50, total homicides 13. Year to date, shot and killed 124, shot and wounded only 548, total shot only 672, total homicides, and it's only March. Hi kids, it's only March. Illustrating Chicago values, total homicides are 130. So if you go to the 2021 Chicago shot clock, it dribbles out to this. A person is wounded every 2 minutes and 59 seconds in the city of Chicago, and a person is murdered every 15 minutes and 42 seconds in that lovely, blissful, peaceful city of Chicago where, you know, gun crime goes down, and they've got the most restrictive gun laws on the books, don't they? I think they do.
The Bloviating Zeppelin's HeyJackass.com
something like that.
Chicago Death Toll Update.
Yeah.
Courtesy of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah, you know what? I only have about another half hour left.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
So, because of that, Jesus, I forgot that I had this up and that it was next because I set up my stuff in advance on my computer. Damn it! Now you're not going to let me play it. Oh, okay. Move on, BZ. Move on. Don't agonize over that stuff. Here's a happy story. This is from the WashingtonExaminer.com. Montana governor threatens legal action if Biden administration flies migrants from the southern border. As well they should. The Republican governor of Montana threatened to take legal action if the Biden administration moves forward with a reported plan to fly people in federal custody at the southern border to facilities on the Canadian border. In a letter obtained by the Washington Examiner, Governor Greg Gianforte and Attorney General Austin Knudsen told Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas that they opposed the idea of Customs and Border Protection using Immigration and Customs Enforcement airplanes to transport migrant families and children across the country due to a shortage of holding facilities in states on the southern border. This is a quote. Montana is unable to care for those individuals and should not have to bear the public safety costs this reported action will impose, Gianforte and Knudsen wrote. Know this. If these reports are confirmed, we will take any and all appropriate legal measures to immediately prevent these relocation efforts. Stop. The Biden regime simply expects, like leftists expect with business, for example, you know what? It's your duty to lose money for anything that we say, for any program that we have. Business, just take it, suck it up, take the loss, and move on. Montana, we're going to dump people in your state. Now, we don't care that you don't have the biggest tax base in the world, nor are we particularly caring if it affects people that are actual American citizens in the state of Montana anyway. Look at the space you guys have. Oh, and by the way, pay up. Pay for everything that we're going to be, that all the things that we really don't care that come along with removing all the restrictions at the southern border. If it dumps on you, if we dump on you, Montana, who cares? Here's another happy story. Governor Gavin Newsom is having an affair with a high-level staffer. Shh, don't tell anyone. Now, would this shock you? Hughes Media Group, Cerritos News, has learned from high-level sources Governor Gavin Newsom of California, always spell it with a K, is having a romantic relationship with one of his close staffers. Who would possibly ever have seen this coming? This is a video that I hope will play. But this is from, it's like, don't you people have a life? Don't you get a life? You know, I find it interesting when a reporter or a reporter at whoever this happens to be asks an actual adult a real, actual question, and they get an answer.
Yeah, when I'm talking to the TV camera, I'm not going to wear a mask.
Did you hear what he said? The reporter said, would you put a mask on for us?
And all of us have been immunized, so you're welcome to step away if you like. The whole point of a vaccine, CDC guidance, is what we're following.
Damn him for having an adult response. Here's another happy story. 14 GOP state attorney generals sue the Biden administration over oil and gas leasing moratoriums. 14 states, including Louisiana and Wyoming, filed suit on yesterday, against President Joe Biden's moratorium on new oil and gas leases on public lands and waters. Biden's order on January 27th to pause new leasing was part of a series of executive actions to address climate change and curb planet-warming carbon emissions. Now, those are emissions that apparently are given out by the United States, and we didn't sign the Kyoto Protocols, and the Kyoto Protocols were just a suggestion. So while India and China, while their emissions have been absolutely erupting and exploding, would it shock you to know that the United States, our emissions, though we didn't abide by the Kyoto Protocol, we didn't sign it, our emissions have steadily been dropping. Just by ourselves, just by our own motivations. Here's another happy story. Donald Trump returning to social media in 2 to 3 months with his own platform. So says an aide. Former President Donald Trump will make a triumphant return to social media within the next few months and with his own service that will completely redefine the game, his top advisor said this past Sunday. Jason Miller told Fox News' Media Buzz the former commander-in-chief, or the former commander-in-tweet, will be back online in 2 to 3 months, and he's going to launch a new platform that he claimed would attract tens of millions of users. Now, I find that a good story. It's a happy story. Should this come to pass, however, I find it interesting that I think, well, let me ask you guys, what do you think will occur to Twitter and Facebook if basically the most important individual then and now leaves or starts his own platform, and that's where you can find him? I suggest that you might find Twitter and Facebook and a few other platforms bleeding some listeners. As we all know, some shootings occurred recently, some mass shootings. And all the leftists and Democrats want to take your guns. Period. End of statement. That's the standard bleat, the standard Mark I model bleat about that. Even though FBI, this was finally released. I was wondering when somebody was even going to mention the fact. Are you aware, folks, that according to the last statistics that the FBI generated, and they're essentially the general repository of stats like this, as of 2019, murders with knives greatly were way more than murders by guns. But that's what the gun grabbers don't want to tell you. Here, Ted Cruz is addressing the issue of gun control after that border shooting. Oh, the Boulder shooting. Imagine that. This Tuesday night, here's a programming note. This Tuesday night, we're going to be talking about what everybody, all the leftists and Democrats want you to talk about. Race. And I might even do a full two-hour show on this. Nothing but the racist industrial complex. The crazy, nutty things you're going to hear me talk about on Tuesday. I would recommend you be here. But this is Ted Cruz actually having opinions and talking back to people, because the first knee-jerk response is take all the guns.
Once again, we wake up to a horrific act of mass murder. All of us lift up in prayer the families in Boulder, Colorado, families in Atlanta that lost their lives, including the police officer in Boulder, Colorado. I can tell you in Texas, we've seen far too many of these. I was in Santa Fe the morning of that shooting. Santa Fe High School is less than an hour from my house. I was in El Paso at the Walmart for yet another senseless mass murder. I was in Dallas where 5 police officers were murdered by a radical. I was in Sutherland Springs in that beautiful sanctuary where a monster murdered innocent people. I've been to too damn many of these. Senator from Connecticut just said, it's time for us to do something. I agree. It is time for us to do something. And every time there's a shooting, we play this ridiculous theater where this committee gets together and proposes a bunch of laws that would do nothing to stop these murders. Senator from Connecticut just said the folks on the other side of the aisle have no solutions. Well, the senator from Connecticut knows that is false. And he knows that's false because Senator Grassley and I together introduced legislation, Grassley-Cruz, targeted at violent criminals, targeted at felons, targeted at fugitives, targeted at those with serious mental disease, to stop them from getting firearms, to put them in prison when they try to illegally buy guns. What happens in this committee after every mass shooting is Democrats propose taking away guns from law-abiding citizens because that's their political objective. But what they propose, not only does it not reduce crime, it makes it worse.
Stop. As if you haven't learned or heard by now, there's a reason that I start many portions of the show with HeyJackass.com and the murder rate in Chicago to point out this exact fact. No one has the guts to mention the black-on-black murders in the United States of America. It's all about cops. And it's all about the people, the evil, mostly white, but not even necessarily white people that have guns. I think gun control and erasing the Second Amendment is racist. People of color, people of all colors, pink, purple, burnt umber, have a right to self-defense. And it is with that portion of my show that I illustrate you're going to take firearms away from legal, lawful firearm owners when in the state of Chicago, and I know this for a fact, you won't even prosecute gun crime, the gun crime that exists right under your nose, and you won't add additional penalties for committing crimes armed, because it would offend a certain strata of individuals. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the same kind of crap that people in the not too terribly distant future are going to be really upset about. Because if there's one thing that we know these days, and I will prove it on Tuesday, it's open season on whites on many levels. That said, stating the obvious about Illinois, then let's go to Boulder and let's listen to Ted Cruz continue.
The jurisdictions in this country with the strictest gun control have among the highest rates of crime and murder. When you disarm law-abiding citizens, you make them more likely to be victims. If you want to stop these murders, go after the murderers.
Thank you. Just said it.
Grassley-Cruz came to a vote on the floor of the Senate in 2013. It got a majority vote on the floor of the Senate. 52 senators voted for Grassley-Cruz in the Harry Reid Democratic Senate. 9 Democratic senators voted for Grassley-Cruz, the most bipartisan support of any of the comprehensive legislation. So why did it pass into law? Because Democratic senators, including many of the senators in this room, including the senator from Connecticut who just said Republicans have no answers, filibustered the law and prevented it from passing. Demanded 60 votes. If Grassley-Cruz had passed into law, Sutherland Springs very likely would not have happened. Why is that? Because the shooter there, the murderer there, had a conviction in the Air Force that the Obama Air Force failed to report to the background check system, and Grassley Cruz mandated an audit of all of the convictions to make sure the background check database has those felonies in it.
Wait. Senator Ted Cruz, are you saying that it wasn't the tool that was at fault? With systems that are already in place designed to protect people, well, the federal system failed.
Not only that, Grassley Cruz mandated that when a felon tries to illegally buy a firearm, that the Department of Justice prosecute them. The Department of Justice has a long and I think indefensible practice of not prosecuting felons and fugitives who try to illegally buy guns.
Thank you.
If Grassley Cruz had passed the gun crimes task force that it had created, would have charged prosecutors with going after gun criminals, locking them up, and putting them in prison. That's how we prevent these. Now, we will learn in the coming days and weeks the exact motivation of the murderers in Atlanta and Boulder, Colorado. We'll learn what happened there. But we already know this pattern is predictable over and over and over again. There are steps we can take to stop these crimes. And you know what the steps aren't? The steps aren't disarming law-abiding citizens.
Thank you. The steps include, however, arresting actual criminals, no matter their color.
Every year, firearms are used in a defensive capacity to defend women, children, families, roughly 1 million times a year in the United States. And the Democrats who want to take away the guns from those potential victims would create more victims of crimes, not less. I agree it's a time for actions. And by the way, I don't apologize for thoughts or prayers. I will lift up in prayer people who are hurting. And I believe in the power of prayer. And the contempt of Democrats for prayers is an odd sociological thing. But I also agree thoughts and prayers alone are not enough. We need action. Today, Chairman Grassley and I are introducing again Grassley Cruz. And I would ask Senate Democrats, including some of our newer colleagues who just got here, not to participate again in the shameful filibuster that this body engaged in 2013. Let's target the bad guys, the felons, the fugitives, those with mental disease. Let's put them in jail. Let's stop them from getting guns. Let's not scapegoat innocent law-abiding citizens, and let's not target their constitutional rights.
Imagine that. Oh, you mean actually arresting criminals. As I say, no matter their paint job, people of color, it doesn't make any difference. This story then just came out. And I would play the audio for you, and I did find the audio for this article. The problem is the audio is 40 minutes long, and I'm very tolerant, but I don't have 40 minutes of dead air to donate to this story. BZ, what are you talking about? This is from sfgate.com. I found this really amusing, but it's true. Southwest pilot on hot mic goes on an expletive-laden rant against the Bay Area. The pilot who delivered the anti-Bay Area rant has been confirmed to be an employee of Southwest Airlines, the airline confirmed exclusively to SF Gate. A spokesman for the company did not identify the pilot, but said they are fully addressing the situation internally. Our corporate culture is built on a tenet of treating others with concern and dignity, and the comments are inconsistent with the professional behavior and overall respect that we require from our employees. So about this time, if you're a thinking human being, you're thinking to yourself, BZ, I wonder what this guy said. Well, they continued saying, well, this is simply an isolated incident involving a single employee, not representative of nearly 60,000 hardworking, respectful people of Southwest Airlines. As a policy, the FAA does not go on to identify the subjects of an investigation. But there's a guy named Will Lawton. He's a private pilot based out of, I think, the Bay Area, San Jose, who listens to live ATC. By the way, that's another kind of cool thing. If you want to listen to planes and plane traffic, go to live ATC. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of stuff on there. I find it kind of fascinating. And he initially reported the incident. He believed that he knew which airline is involved. So here we are, March 24th, 11:15 a.m., in a hot mic incident recorded over the Mineta San Jose International Airport's air traffic control scanner. An unidentified pilot was heard delivering an expletive-heavy rant, according to the travel site 1 Mile at a Time. And again, this is a late-night show, so your kids ought to already be in bed. In the March... Okay, this is the final story, then I'm going to go for the weekend. In the March 12th recording, the pilot says, "Fuck this place. Goddamn liberal fucks." He then continues, making several other curse word-laden comments before being interrupted by what seems to be an air traffic controller. Fucking weirdos, probably driving around in fucking Hyundais, fucking roads and shit that go slow as fuck, he said. And you don't have the balls unless you're fucking rolling coal, man, god damn it. Live ATC confirmed the authenticity of the recording, but not which pilot or airline might have been involved. We can neither confirm nor verify who made those comments, a company representative wrote in an email. This communication is very unprofessional. Blah, dee blah, dee blah, 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 and dee blah. I'll go over this very briefly. Does anybody see, I guess this is a happy story. It's an ironical story. Anybody see any irony when Kamala Harris accepts Bill Clinton's invite for one-on-one talks about female empowerment? This, okay, well, I made this for a reason, so maybe this is a good time to play this.
Tales from the You Can't Write This Shit department.
And
graciously presented by BZ.
And
in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
And you can't write this shit. Who could possibly have seen this? Anybody see a molecule of hypocrisy or irony here, folks? Me, you, Bueller? Here's a woman who swived the married Willie Brown, Kamala Harris, in order to come to power. Get it? What? See what I did there? Consorting with a multiple-count rapist, a serial sexual harasser, and traveler on the Lolita Express. So, Kamala Harris and Billy Clinton are going to go one-on-one with talks about female empowerment. Okay, this really is. Here's another good story. This is a good story. I'll end with this. This oh boy. Okay, yeah, that means I gotta do this all over again because this is absolutely perfect.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Illegal immigrant wanted for raping 2 girls under the age of 10 is killed by Texas cop. Oh, that's the headline. Really, basically, that's all you need to know. No more than that. Joe Biden had a press conference today. His actual statement was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 minutes or so. It was about, I think, an hour and a half, right around there. And I was going to play this whole thing. I didn't anticipate that I would have so much fun in interviewing Jan Rogers. But let me give you just a 25-second bit of what occurred.
So I'm going to say something outrageous. I have never been particularly poor at calculating how to get things done in the United States Senate. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
And I think I just summed up a 1 hour and a half press conference that took Joe Biden 65 days to get to in about 25 seconds. Jeez. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, boy, did I have a great time tonight. Thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You know, if you want to contact me, you can do that at Twitter, on Twitter, at BZEP. I'm really active on Twitter, at BZEP, at BZEP, and on my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Also, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones. Tiaras are by My Little Pony.
You please say hello.
Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour.
I'll be happy to know that is you.
Thanks to Jan Rogers for being here. Thanks to everybody for listening live. For listening in podcast, thanks to the American Trucker listening live and also in podcast. You keep America moving now more than everybody ever, any time before. Thanks for taking all the time that you do to listen to me so late at night. God bless. Take care. Be safe. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm going to be back on Tuesday, and oh, what a show it'll be.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.